Hi there, I'm William. I'm an IT consultant, and we specialize in the educational market as well as private and government educational institutions. I've been using ProWritingAid now coming on 5 or 6 years, I suppose. I've purchased the product multiple times. I also use it to edit books for authors as well as my own works, and I found it very effective, and also it meets the needs of 90% of what I need to do, and I give it a 4 out of 5 rating. So I've been writing professionally since 2012, and I've been consulting since 2004. And in my professional interactions with people and other authors, I've gone ahead and used many tools to try to improve my ability to convey messages. I've used this type of approach, whether it be websites or articles, blog articles, or also for information that's exchanged professionally between companies, so professional technical writing. In that time, I've used a lot of different products. I've used Scrivener, for instance, which is a writing tool. I've used Grammarly for editing. When I conduct usual business, I use Word, and they have a built-in tool called the Editor. All of these tools are very good. They work in conjunction with each other. But I've also found that ProWritingAid has specific functions built into it that allow me a little more creativity and also a lot more precision when it comes to the writing that I try to do. So a few years ago, I was using Grammarly almost exclusively for doing the things that I now use ProWritingAid for. And the reason I did that was because they had a good price. Quite honestly, the price of Grammarly was far less than it was for ProWritingAid, and the performance was pretty good, and integrated well with Word and other applications that I used. But then I got into a group of writers, and they had a special deal for ProWritingAid where I could get into this writers group for the cost of ProWritingAid, and I'm like, okay, it was like a perk. So I started using ProWritingAid. All of a sudden, the quality of my writing went way up. I was selling more things. I was being able to get more business doing editing and consulting business through that. And I really saw a difference. So I stopped Grammarly. I did run them in parallel for a while. And again, as I said, I've used Scrivener and Word, and these things integrate well with both of those programs. But the advantages that I like about ProWritingAid, for instance, is it gives you a summary of the work when you're done. And it's very specific, and it's very detailed into where you need to improve. For instance, if you're using too many adverbs, if your punctuation is poor, if the grammar, the sentences you're actually using is not precise enough, or maybe it's too flowery. And it actually has built-in templates that you can bounce your work against. Like when I'm writing fiction, I can use the fiction novel plugin, I suppose you would say, that template for that. When I'm running nonfiction, I can go to an academic setting. All right. So depending on what my customer's needs are, I can go ahead and adjust the ProWritingAid to do what I want for that particular customer. And that's proven very invaluable. It saves me a lot of time. I used to do this by hand. I used to have to go through, and when Word came along, even with Word, you'd sit there and have to go and read every single word in a 50,000 word manuscript, and check the punctuation, check the grammar, and bounce that against your experience, because none of these tools are perfect. And I'm not going to say that ProWritingAid is perfect, but it does give you a much more polished product, and that's what I have found in my personal use of it. The learning curve for that particular program, ProWritingAid, isn't too steep, but it is not just for a beginner. Okay, the thing I am emphasizing here is that I've had a lot of experience with writing. I've done this for quite some time. I've probably written over 3.5 million words myself. I've edited 10 books for people of various genres. And the fact that it was able to be used in that variety of subjects, variety of topics, is very powerful to me. But it does have some idiosyncrasies. For instance, one of the things that I find is when I'm writing fiction, it doesn't like if I use passive voice, and it will warn you if you're using passive voice versus active voice, and it makes suggestions. but that's a stylistic choice. If you want to write passive voice for particular things, like for instance, poetry, it's really not the best at poetry and some other creative types of writing exercises. It's very good for academic paper. It's very good for nonfiction. I write science fiction and romance, and the two different genres have different needs, and the ProWritingAid does address those. But the ability to go in and tweak the program directly is not that easy to determine. Having said that, it has tremendously improved my output. My throughput for writing from a standard manuscript of, say, 25,000 words used to take me 3 weeks, and I'm able to do a 25,000 word manuscript in a couple of days now. ProWritingAid versus these other products such as Grammarly or Scrivener or Editor in Word, it's definitely a superior product. All right, this is why I have chosen to go after our trial was up on the writers group. After 3 months, ProWritingAid decided to change their policy and charge full price, which I gladly paid because it's that good of a product. All right, it's not perfect. Now, with the advent of the new technology coming out, such as ChatGPT, OpenAI, and another tool that I use called PseudoWrite, I'm kind of up in the air as to which of these I'm going to end up with. The ProWritingAid definitely fills a niche for me for being able to take customer data, manuscripts, put it in there, and give them a very good product back. I kind of suspect that the ChatGPT, the Bing, the AI is going to come ahead and raise the bar for people's grammar and the communication across the board. And this may be something that ProWritingAid will have to integrate at some point into their product. The things I'm seeing with PseudoWrite that are occurring right now, there's a parallel between the two. PseudoWrite is directly related to creating manuscripts, and especially for creative writers and story writers, scripts and things like that, where the ChatGPT is more of a open language model. And what I'm noticing between it is, unless you craft your prompts correctly in the AI environment, you're not going to get the results as predictably as you will out of something like PseudoWrite. Again, none of those tools is specific for grammar and punctuation. And I've taken things that I've put together in ChatGPT and dropped them through ProWritingAid and dropped them through PseudoWrite to see if there's differences. ProWritingAid still comes up as my best tool for that particular purpose, for grammar and punctuation. For plotting, there's a new beta feature inside of ProWritingAid called Rephrase. There's a similar component in PseudoWrite that allows you the flexibility of choosing different, what they call cards. These are short snippets of text that you can copy or modify to put into your manuscripts. The ability to be able to do that saves all kinds of time. But once more, now you're asking the tool to do the thinking for you. And that's not what ProWritingAid's strengths are. ProWritingAid's strength is to go ahead and take a finished first draft, shall we say, and score it in terms of the grammar, punctuation, spell checking, those kinds of things, and some stylistic choices. The strengths of the PseudoWrite and the ChatGPT are for coming up with ideas and coming up with variations of those ideas. So I find that there's a symphony kind of that you're putting together all these different tools. I don't know that you can choose a single tool to get the output that you're desiring. As I've mentioned, there's also in the web development that I do, there's a component of search engine optimization that is necessary for both a specific grammar and punctuation, but also conciseness. And I don't know that you can see that happening well with a product such as ProWritingAid, but I am seeing stuff like that where I can have, for instance, drop it into ChatGPT and say, write a summary of this, and it does that. Those features are being added to these other products. So it's going to shake itself out here eventually, but I think that in the next couple of years, you're going to see a tremendous change in the way that creative artists and also professional editors use all of these tools.